Hello everyone, welcome again to another episode of Ask EVGA. This is number 14.
Yep.
And we're excited to bring a bunch of questions again. As always, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section below or on any of our social media outlets. And we'll be sure to try and answer all of them that come by. Okay, so to jump in, we have a question from Super Dan, and he says, my question for episode 14. Thanks for keeping track.
Yeah.
Why is EVGA the best company, which leads me to paying for things that I don't need? And then when I need help with something, the customer service is always more than happy to help, even if it's nothing to do with their project or product.
Wow. Yeah, that's like the ultimate softball question. So we started off pretty positive. When you reach out to our customer service team, we're interested in getting the issue resolved. And quite frankly, when you've got a computer that could have a bunch of different manufacturers' parts in it, we can't just say, oh, well, that's not an EVGA one, so we can't do anything about it. If the goal, and our goal is to get your system working and get you to gaming and get you to enjoy the EVGA product, then in some cases we do have to help you with some other products. Obviously, we can't do anything warranty related on other products, but we do a lot of troubleshooting. We don't, force people off the phones or anything. If you have concerns, best thing to do to get them resolved is to call us directly, and that is why it is 24/7. So that's not something that I think that we'll ever get rid of. It's kind of a cornerstone of what we do. So I know I'm personally proud to be part of that team, and it's something where we're always improving those processes and getting our support even better. And then the product side of things, they're getting the products to be even better. So the two things work hand in hand.
Yeah, we're pretty well known for our customer service. I'd say that's probably our strongest point, besides our awesome graphics cards and products.
Exactly. All right, very good. So let's move on to the next one here. This is from Wayne Willis. He asks, I didn't know there was a step-up program for the GTX 1080 Ti FTW3 to the RTX 2080 Ti. Would it be worth it?
Yeah, it would certainly be worth it. You have to make a cost factor analysis if you think it's worth the cost for performance. Or you're looking to upgrade, or you're not happy with the current performance that you have with the 1080 Ti, just keep in mind that the step-up program is only available within 90 days of your purchase date. So if you had purchased from an authorized seller within 90 days and you're not happy with the performance, then I would take advantage of the step-up program at that point in time. And that's a unique program to EVGA as well. So it's a really great program for somebody who wants to test out, the performance of, say, like a lot of times I'll get, say, like something in the 60 series, like a 1060, and then I find out I wanted, like a 1070 or 1080 instead. That's when it turns out to be the best. And the step-up program is, what do you call it?
What's the term you're looking for? It's great.
Yeah, it's a really good program. It's a really good program. I can't think of anything else to say on that.
Yeah, no. Cost factor analysis, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, that's basically how I look at it. As far as going from a 10 series to a 20 series, because it's obviously the 20 series is a little more expensive than we're used to seeing with the next gen. Because of the technology that's in it. And so you got to do, your homework and see, is ray tracing something you're going to be looking into? Because if you're not looking into ray tracing, then it's basically the 1080 Ti gets really good performance still on like most games. So
that is true.
I would buy it for the ray tracing. I would buy it for other games that will support like performance boosts that the 20 series can offer. If you're a big AAA title player, that's a big deal. But so yeah, I mean, just the step-up program's there in case you need to use it or want to use it, and can't really get that anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
Bit of a run-on there. It's an off day for both of us.
It's a very off day for both of us, but that's okay.
Okay. So Will.i.am, that's where we're at, right?
One. No,
oh, no, okay. I like that name. Okay, Brandon's Outdoor Channel. I like that as well. Is it true that RTX cards are dying? When will RTX ray tracing features be usable?
Okay, two very different questions in that one. The first one, we've seen the same reports that you have about issues with RTX cards. From what I understand and the numbers that we've looked at with EVGA cards, we're not seeing particularly high return rates or failure rates that need to be warranted, so nothing that you really need to worry about. On our cards, we can't speak for all manufacturers, but I'm certain that anything that there is an issue, it's being worked on. That's always the case. If there's ever a problem with products, eventually somebody is able to make some type of solution for it. So if there is a problem, and again, I haven't seen anything particular to EVGA cards that says there is one, then, you know, who knows. As far as when will the RTX ray tracing features be usable, certainly, I want to see them be implemented in games as soon as possible. We've seen some really cool stuff with like ray trace global illumination and like Metro, DLSS, the deep learning super sampling. If you haven't seen it, Digital Foundry did a really cool analysis on how that works with what was it, Final Fantasy 15 currently. Basically how it could take a 1440p image and make it into a 4K image in a really impressive way. So like features like that, and I think that DLSS in particular is one of those things that it'll be really easy for developers to implement. That is not like having to change the code to support that. It's just a different type of anti-aliasing. So I think that's a relatively easy thing that only 20 series cards will be able to do. That'll give you a massive performance boost. Yeah. So if you're looking at possibly even doing something like a 4K high refresh rate, it makes that possible on 20 series cards, which we thought was going to be well outside of the possibility for this generation. So as far as the other cooler stuff, like what we've seen in Battlefield, where they're doing ray tracing for actual reflections and whatnot, it's going to be game by game. So there's always a lag time on that, but I'm sure you'll see more of them coming in 2019. And hopefully 2019 is the year of ray tracing. We'll see.
Yeah, and DLSS is one of those features that seems kind of like outshined by ray tracing, no pun intended, but it is actually a really amazing feature. I think really that it's a little bit understated kind of, because you know, you have ray tracing as well, which is epic, and you know, they've called it like the holy grail and everything like that, so it's kind of outshone DLSS, but DLSS is crazy awesome technology.
Yeah, no, I would not have thought that taking a lower resolution buffer and then doing a higher resolution version of that without any kind of visual artifacting or blurriness that we're used to seeing with current reconstruction techniques, it really is like a generation ahead of what we've seen for that. And since so many games now are employing things like temporal anti-aliasing and reconstruction, checkerboard rendering on consoles and things like that, to have something on the PC side which is genuinely more impressive and genuinely technically better, it's one of those things where it's like, that's PC Master Race kind of stuff. That's features you can only get on PC. So for me, I'm actually really excited to see that coming out from more games.
I did want to mention too on the first question, since I am on the product team, like I've seen some of the numbers and things like that too. I can say that this is not an issue that's affecting EVGA cards. There are going to be a normal amount of a few people that will experience a failure, and I can't say the exact number, but it is so low, it you know, it's shockingly low. Maybe even slightly below what the normal numbers are, but we just started sending them out, so we'll see probably more issues come up as time goes on. But as far as that issue in particular that people are talking about online, seems to only be affecting other cards. It's not affecting EVGA cards at all.
Personally, I think that the RTX line of cards could end up being one of our higher sort of usable life cards, just because of how we're designing the coolers now. They're so comprehensive in cooling all of the board that I think that in and of itself is going to give additional, you know, longevity to these cards that we have not seen before.
Ever since the 10 series, we've just been kicking it up a notch as far as cooling and longevity and thermal pads everywhere. Which you could see plenty of videos of people talking about how crazy that is. You know?
And in this generation, the thermal pads and the paste are better than they were on 10 series, so we've improved those significantly. Good stuff. All right, this next question, as you said before, is from Will I Am of Black Eyed Peas fame. He asks, can you deliver your EU customers instead of being so annoying?
Can we deliver our EU customers? Where are we delivering them to?
I don't know.
Yes, we do deliver to EU customers. It is only on the EU online store, though.
Right.
So you're probably talking about the US store being able to deliver to EU. Unfortunately, I don't see any plans of doing that anytime soon. To be able to bring it to EU customers at an affordable price, we have an EU facility.
Right.
Now, they don't always get the same, timing on products or things like that some of the time. We try to organize that in such a way that they do always keep up with our stock as well, but that's just not always going to be the case.
Right.
But to bring it at a decent cost, we do have a facility in the EU to, because if we were to ship it from the US side, I mean the customs fees and the taxes and everything would just be so insane. That would be a much bigger issue.
Right. Yeah, certainly on the EU side of things, our EU customers, we're trying to expand in the EU a lot. So we're improving service, we're improving availability and things like that. So you're going to see, I think, positive changes to the EU. That said, Will.i.am, if this wasn't exactly the question you were asking, go ahead and ask in the next Ask EVGA a little more clarification, and we'll try to answer that, and we'll try not to be so annoying.
Yes. Good one. Okay. I love this name. Okay, this one's from OG Nintendo.
There you go.
And if you guys watch this, you know that I'm a big retro fan.
Yep.
And have a ton of retro stuff. Okay, so OG Nintendo asks, my question for episode 14. Well, people are starting to keep track.
People are actually keeping track of the episodes. That's cool.
Even though when they ask it, it says it in the title. But okay. What's with some RTX cards reaching 8,000 megahertz memory clocks stable, while others only achieve 7,500 megahertz? Are there differences in the GDDR6 bin tiers, or is it a large gap? Or is this large gap just a matter of luck of the draw? Comparing my 2080 FTW3 versus my friend bought on the same day from the same retailer.
Okay, there's actually a lot to cover on that. So GDDR6, as it ships right now in our graphics cards, is 14 gigabit, which translates to what they call an effective clock speed of 14,000 megahertz, but it's double data rate, so it's actually half that. But it's not actually half that because it's quad pumped double data rate, so it's actually 1/8. So if you're able to get it to 8,000 megahertz, you're actually running it at 2,000 megahertz because the 8,000 is double data rate. So that means that yours is running at 1750, his is running at 2000. So the difference there is not quite as big, though the percent change is, of course, exactly the same. The reason why you see such a big variation, and the reason that we've never, to my knowledge, released graphics cards with factory overclocked VRAM, it's very uncommon for graphics cards in general to have overclocked VRAM, is not really due to binning so much as every board has multiple RAM chips. If you've got a RTX 2080 Ti, it's got 11 chips. And so when you're overclocking them, what you're actually doing is you're finding what is the weakest of those 11 chips. Because if one of them can't keep up with the other 10, then your VRAM just can't keep up at all. So you actually will just have an unstable overclock. Whereas with a GPU die, it's one chip. And we can test it and we can discern, okay, it can comfortably do about this much of an overclock, and we can do a factory overclock to try to get it there. Yeah. But with RAM, it really is much more, like you say, luck of the draw, because you really have to get all of those chips working in unison at that higher speed. So if somebody, and I have seen some people say that they get up to about 8,000, 16 gigabit, which is really fast when you consider that GDDR5 came out at 10 gigabit, and that was earth-shatteringly fast. We're already at 60% faster than that on overclocking. I think in general, in my experience, GDDR6 actually does overclock pretty well. And I think part of that is because Micron and Samsung and others have already mentioned that they will have, rated 16 gigabit chips, and eventually they'll have 18 gigabit chips and whatnot. So when we have 14 now, that's sort of the starting point. And they're already doing some of that work to get it up to those higher speeds. So I think you'll see that go higher and higher over time. But yes, if you're doing overclocking, you could see big variations from card to card. That is kind of the nature. I think a lot of people that were doing mining were figuring that out because mining really likes having high speed memory. So a lot of people try to do memory overclocking on those cards, and there is a big variation. Basically.
Yeah. It's a little off topic, but I watched a video on system memory and somebody who visited like the Micron facility, and they go through the actual binning process of the RAM chips.
Sure.
It was super interesting.
Yeah,
but
they are
just a side
technically that's a good point. They're technically binned in the sense that they have to reach that rating. So they were rated for 14 gigabits,
Right.
and that's what we ship them at.
Right.
And you may be able to get them higher, but you may not.
Right. Yeah, but just a side note, super interesting video. All right, and this one's for me, right? Oh no, you're asking this one.
Oh, yes. Okay. This is from Jason Lee, I believe. Question: will EVGA ever make AMD cards? Your NVIDIA cards are top-notch, and I'm waiting for EVGA to make the best AMD cards. Currently, Sapphire is the best, but their RMA is terrible, while EVGA is amazing.
Interesting.
I didn't know that about Sapphire.
I didn't know, about Sapphire. That's interesting. We've answered this in the past, and we will answer it again.
Yes.
Most likely. We don't have any plans on making any AMD products or any AMD cards or motherboards. Typically, we get asked about the motherboards a lot.
Yeah, we do get asked about that.
Yeah, we've never made the switch, and we haven't needed to, and we really like our relationship with NVIDIA. We really like our relationship with Intel, and it's a very strong relationship that we have with these companies. And there's just no desire to move over for the time being. NVIDIA and Intel consistently come out on top, and we consider ourselves a premium brand as well. So if you're going with EVGA, a lot of times money's not particularly an issue. With us being a little bit more expensive, you're also paying for the quality and the warranty and the things that you get from EVGA. And I don't know if that necessarily plays a factor into why we're not going with AMD, but I like being the top.
Sure.
It's a good place to be, and NVIDIA and Intel are on top. So as far as your name, if it's actually spelled Jason, Jacen, I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a cool, nobody will ever spell it correctly spelling of Jason.
But yeah, thank you for the compliment on our RMA service, and move over to NVIDIA again. Come back. If you're buying AMD cards, I would recommend going with NVIDIA cards. So
fair enough.
Yeah, that's just my suggestion. Okay, and this question is from Travis Liu. Can I flash a Z370 Classified K without a CPU using a flash drive that has the latest BIOS version?
No. Unfortunately, the Z370 boards do not have the ability to flash without the CPU. That is a feature that we are rolling out in some of our current and our newest motherboards. So that is something that will become more common, but it requires hardware changes. So it's not something where we could do a firmware update and then from that point on, you can do what's called SPI Flash and flash it without having the CPU installed. It is a really cool feature.
Yes.
And it's definitely something that we're excited to be able to bring to our customers. But it's not something that unfortunately was able to make it in time for the 370 launch. So that's something that is going to be only on future boards.
Yes, but I do expect that it'll be on nearly all future boards unless it's an extremely budget model. Okay. But even some of our budget motherboards that are coming do have SPI Flash. Cool. So we're trying to put that on as many boards as possible. Really great feature.
It is a really great feature. All right, and this last one, this is for Joseph. This is from RJ Santiago. He asks, and this was in reference to the Z390 FTW overview that Joseph did for us. And this was a featured comment, so I thought it was important that we put it in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle on this. It's simple, which is cool. But then I don't know if I like the look. It's not a bad look, but I just don't feel my mouth watering or anything. Okay. And where's the other dude? I'm terrible with names, but the other guy probably could have made the presentation of the video better. I'm not putting this guy down or anything. It just seems kind of monotone and robotic, like no feelings. Glad to see the GN mod mat. Thoughts?
Well, I'm glad you included this. I didn't actually overview the questions beforehand. Yeah, Ray is a better personality than I am. I never intended to actually be on camera, and you can tell that by the first video that I was in.
That was a great video.
The DG7 unboxing, where the top upvoted comment,
the top comment, yeah,
was, do you recall?
It was...
blink twice if you're being held against your will. And I did look very uncomfortable in that video. So I'm trying to get a little bit more, comfortable with the camera. But especially when it's just me on my own. With Ray, there's something going on where we can where I can be a little bit more energetic and have that the better connection with the camera and stuff. But when I'm just by myself in a product, I'm talking pretty monotone, I have to admit. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Honestly, just our filmmaking in general, from the very first ones that we did to what we're doing now, and trying to learn how to do things and lighting and cameras and all the rest of it, and acting factors into that. We're working, so everything is improving, and Joseph's actually very good. So I wanted to put this in here because I actually think Joseph does really well in front of the camera, but I also kind of wanted him not to read this question before I read it.
Oh, that's funny. That's why you kind of cut me off as I was going through them and reading them aloud too, because you came in real quick and we're like, all right, let's go.
I don't remember doing that.
Right. Well, that was awesome.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of Ask EVGA. As Joseph said before, put your questions in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to catch those on episode 15 or future episodes of Ask EVGA. You have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Have a good one. Yeah, you're much better than me.
Did I tell you about how I almost sent myself to the clinic this morning?
No.
I was using a Q-tip to clean my ear just after the shower, and I don't even know why, but I pulled my hand away to do something, and when I came back, I slammed the Q-tip deep into my ear. Yeah. And after the ringing stopped and the bleeding stopped, I realized I hadn't actually damaged anything because I could still hear and I still have my balance. But that was a close call.
Wow.
Yeah, don't do that ever.
No, I don't. I never wanted to do that or planned on that.
Me neither. I was like, that was horrible. Don't do that. All right.
On that note...